Welcome to my tutorial on how to integrate a nerd into your SideWinder. First thing I'm going to do is take the head and take the cell holder out. And taking the cell holder out, I need to disconnect all of the wires. I tried using a screwdriver to loosen up, but eventually I just chose to use my fingernails to pull the cords out. It's kind of hard to see, but there's a little tab in as part of the cord, and so you push that towards the outside. And about here is when I decided that just using my fingernails or thumbnails to pull it disconnected it. All right, they're all disconnected, and if yours is like mine, the direction of the cells are just tight, but in order for this to work, you need to have them all aligned where the bottom tab is pointing towards, is facing the empty slot. And notice the cell numbers, at least the SideWinder I purchased, the cell holders are labeled 1, 2, and 3. So we need to take the end cap, and I am using a 3/16 Allen key to remove the cap. And then I grab the 4-pin AK Pelican 3-cell nerd cable. And you'll notice that the cables are different lengths. One of the nice parts about it being different lengths is you need to feed it into the hole one at a time. And I thought that I had kept them from the springs. Finding the right angle so it feeds without cross threading was a bit of a trick. So be careful when you're doing this. I thought I was really smart and started twisting, but didn't realize that it had gotten caught up in the springs. I got it tight, and then used a crescent wrench that is just out of sight to tighten it. I didn't come across any torque specifications, so it was just a little tight. And then I'm fighting to unwind the wires that had got caught up in the spring. So I work on unwinding these cables. All right, and now that they are all separated and untangled, I take a 3/8 inch socket and remove the lock nut that is, or that was holding the plate in place. Almost there. And of course I drop it in. All right, so then I get the cell splitter board for the KISS, Spirit, and SideWinder rebreathers. And I'm not using the black base. I'm going to use the clear base. And here is the splitter board. And I originally thought that the cells needed to be paired up based on cord length. So the shortest going to the shortest. What comes in the SideWinder, the cords are labeled 1, 2, and 3. And so I'm pairing them up 1, 2, and 3 on the board. So I've got all of the original cables connected to the board. This is going from my petrol to the board. And then I originally thought that the longest cord goes to the longest cord. And so I connected it. Because the cable that comes from Narced at 90 doesn't have numbers on the connectors. But then I noticed that the colors didn't match, and so I actually changed it to match the colors of the wires instead of the lengths. And they are all snapped in. It looks like a mess, and it is. Do a bit of rearranging of the wires, and my hand is a great block of showing what's actually happening. I put this in upside down erroneously, realizing it actually goes this way. And so just to make sure that I'm putting it in the right way, I stick it in, which exposes some springs that are caught in the wires. So this is how the board is going to sit in the head. And so I take the actual cells now, and I want to press it in, but I need some space. So I'm going to take the board back out. So sticking the board into the head, not necessary. And this is where aligning the cells before you press it in is required. I'm going to move the camera so maybe we can see a little better. And the cords are pretty tight. So let me move some of these cords out of the way into a better location. And I fought this for quite a while. Trying to align all three cells with the slot was a challenge, and in the process, I pulled a couple of the cords out of the motherboard. So I'm working on it, trying to align the cells with the motherboard or with the board, and get close, and then realize that some of the cords had come out from the board. You can see one of them kind of at the bottom there. So this is how they're supposed to fit. The problem is I have some cords that are pulled out. So I have to take the board out again. So let me plug those back in. And now that I've got the cords in, putting the cells onto the board should be easy. It took a few seconds the last time. This time it isn't so easy. I'm not sure why it was so hard. I couldn't get the pins lined up correctly. So I fought this for quite a bit. Squeezing the cells together. Still not together. Now this side isn't going in. I think one of the cables had come loose, so I just used one of the Allen keys to push it back into place. Pulling it back out, maybe they'll go in if it's all coming in aligned together. Again, the first time was really easy. This time it's not so. All right, it's together now, and now I've just got some wires that are tangled into the springs. And again, we're going to set this board facing down so the clear cell holders are still up. This became pretty tight. The cables aren't that long. And so the board is going to fit in that long screw, and then it should pull all the way through and get the nut. Make sure the grippy part is outward facing. And I want the least amount of resistance when I'm breathing, so I'm going to push these electrical cords out of the way. And congratulations, we have installed the board onto the head. Next is we're going to now connect the nerd to the cable. So take the end cap off. And you'll see it's a four pin. And then I grab the nerd. And I take the cap off of this. There's the 4 pins. And I'm going to take some dielectric grease and apply it to the ends. This dielectric grease was like thicker than I was expecting. It didn't come out as smooth as I thought it was going to be, but there it is. I don't think it's really in focus. But the caps have dielectric grease. Then I take the cable clamp set out of the bag. There's the clamp, and then there's 2 little plastic rings that I successfully drop on the table. And so I follow the male-female pattern that is on the cables themselves. So it's the female cable and the female end cap or cable clamp. You slide the cable clamp on, and then take the ring and put it on the actual cable and slide it up to the end, or as far as it can go. And then do the same thing with the other side, the male with the male. Slide it up. Then align the 4 pins the correct way. It squeezes out some dielectric grease. And secure it. And now to work on the mounting on the loop. So I use this setup. There's another setup that came with it. I bought this secondhand, so I'm not sure if it was part of the nerd setup or not, but I'm using this one. I am using a .13 64th Allen key. To loosen that up, actually taking it off, I've found that the clamp isn't it doesn't tighten up enough to make it secure. So I took some painter's tape and tore it down to size so it fits over the nerd, but in the slot where this holder is going to be. And I think I make a mistake on the direction of this clamp. Put it on, then grab the loop. And I fight this for a little bit. And switch it around because it was facing the wrong way. All right, it is pretty solid. The next thing I do is I take AS022 O-rings, 1-inch O-rings, and I put it on. I first put the smaller than that size bungee cord, and I'll explain what this is at the very end. And then I take the 1-inch O-rings and I put it on the first and the third slots on the nerd. So you'll see me fighting this, and unfortunately the lighting isn't great to see exactly where it goes. There's the first one. All right. Trying to show that the first and third slots are now filled with these two O-rings. And then I take the sight cap, the gun sight cap, and we're going to put it on. And where you place that knot is important, whether the cap opens up or not, and whether it's in your line of sight. So I want to get that out of the way. All right. About ready to put the cap on. I changed the lighting a little bit to make it a little more visible. And I just push it on as far as it will go. Make sure that the lid is in the right place, and then I don't really want to roll it on. I want to pull it on, and I want that bungee to be in between the two rings, the two O-rings. All right, it's on. So now all we need to do is put it onto the loop. And for this video, I kind of had to feed it through so that it's working like it's supposed to. I'm kind of fearful of bending this plastic, but it seems to work okay. Bring it onto the loop, or onto the hose. Bring the screw on, tighten it up. All right. There you have it. You are ready to dive with a secondary computer.